it's actually links well to my next kind of topic of conversation around your research and work done with the museums, right? And interactive exhibitions and in the real, in that space, right? Space of exhibiting things to the public. And I noticed that trend. I'm based in Estonia, and here they have this big push on technology. So every museum nowadays would like to have some technology in the space of the exhibition. But the main problem with that is it's too much, and it's mostly a screen-based interaction, right? So you have some object, right? And you can explore it further by interacting with a screen. So I wonder if there is any change, not only in the amount of technology used for such interactive experiences within the museum realm, but also type of technology. For instance, are there any aspects of integrating haptic technology in immersive exhibitions? And I know you worked with in that particular direction. Maybe you can talk about it as well.
Yes, of course. I think that we have two topics here. One, on the one hand, when we use technologies within the museum experience, it needs to, as we said, enhance the storytelling, right? And it needs to be seamless for the audiences. And what we see quite a lot in exhibition spaces nowadays is that institutions very often still struggle on how to incorporate technologies within the experience. As you said, there is a lot of screens, there is some interaction of human and screens. However, you can also see quite a lot of QR codes. And if you actually see this as a part of the experience, you follow the exhibition and then there is the QR code, where very often you don't really have a clear reason of why you should actually scan it. So audiences very often, visitors very often are not really given a very clear reason of, okay, why actually I should scan this QR code. And also it takes actually quite a lot for a visitor to make this decision. Okay, I will take my phone out of my pocket or my purse. I will scan, I will go to this website, and then maybe I will have to log in or download the app. So there's really a lot of steps for me to take before I actually can experience something. So there needs to be a really big value behind it for me to decide to take all those steps. So it's very important actually as a first step to think how we can make the experience smooth for the visitors and avoid this kind of hiccups. If we ask audiences to use their own devices, there is always a bit of a barrier, right? That there is an effort that is perceived by the audiences. On average, we spend 8 seconds by artwork. So if it takes like 7 minutes for me to wait for VR goggles, a lot of people will not wait. That's a big thing to ask for. So the first thing is, what is really the role of technology within the experience? What added value does it offer us? That's a very important one, right? Can we do this without? If we decide that we want to incorporate technology, what is really the reason? And what is the extra value that we give to the audiences? And when it comes to engaging other senses within the museum space, I don't think it's a case of technology or if and what kind of technologies should be used, but I think it's another take on how we understand human experience and human interaction, because as human beings, we don't experience the world only with sight and sound. But very often when we are offered experiences, we are only engaged through actually what we can see and what we can hear. So the important shift or the important thing that should be considered when the experience is designed is to consider the fact that as a human being, we experience the world with all our senses. And it's amazing to observe toddlers if they are offered with a new object, right? Kids would probably experience the object with all their senses. right? They would take a look at it. They will probably try to see if it can make any sound. They would put that in their mouth. They will check the texture with their hands, right? As human beings, that's natural for us to engage with the world with all the senses. And for example, if we enter a museum, we enter the room and we feel temperature through our skin. For example, it's hot outside and we are entering a room where it's air conditioning. We feel the difference. We automatically feel through our senses that the room feels different. The room probably smells different than the outside. And we hear also sounds that were not only designed within the exhibitions, but we may hear the street outside. So what is important, in my opinion, to consider when we design experiences is to consider that as human beings, we engage with a lot of senses. And then in a natural way, when we engage more senses, we are more focused, and the educational value is also higher because we are more focused. So our engagement translates to how much invested and immersed we can be in something that we are doing. So technology can help us achieve that. But I think the first step is actually acknowledging the fact that we experience with more than just seeing and hearing.
Do I observe that practitioners currently do not fully acknowledge that fact?
Well, my experience with museum experts is that some of them do, and that is also visible in the way they design activities within the museums with little games that you can play. Even if they are offline, you can play a little board game, you can engage through multiple types of activities. But I think we tend to forget, because it's so natural for us to feel the temperature, to hear background noise. We take for granted a lot of those. And what I like to do with museum experts is, for example, to ask them to experience the room in the gallery, in their museum, with their eyes closed, for example, because then you start triggering all the other senses. You start trying to feel the room in a little bit different way, right? If we impair one sense, other senses become stronger. So I think it's a great exercise actually for us to see how we experience the world in a little bit broader spectrum than just focusing on seeing things.
That's a very interesting technique to embed actually in the design practices and co-design methods.